Hare Krishna devotees, it's Chandra Vadna Chanyadas here, and welcome to Saturday Rest and Retreat. So just a little apology for yesterday. We were actually, let me grab these lights. The lights are great for getting things together when you need to see stuff, but for day-to-day operations, when it's just me here and doing this live video, we have enough natural light, even though it is gray and cloudy and it looks like doomsday outside. Those gray clouds actually remind me of Krishna. So anyway, but I want to apologize for yesterday because we didn't actually have a formal Friday night kirtan. But I've made a decision for today. I wanted to give you guys. Um, I think that last week when we did the Prabhupada Pranam and the other mantra that we were working on too, we did two in one day. Um, and I don't know, I didn't feel exactly super comfortable with kind of leaving it there. So I figured that maybe we'll take another week to really go through those lessons to kind of learn the Prabhupada Pranam and also the Chaitanya mantra. So yeah, let's the Pancha Tattva mantra. So we will just keep progressing. We will, instead of having a new song this weekend, this coming week, we'll actually just concentrate on the song that we've been learning. And the reason I say that is it's super important that we learn it. And not only that, but I didn't really give you guys the prayers themselves. I mean, I said, well, you can look this up online, that type of thing. So I kind of felt bad about that. So what I've done, I was thinking, well, what would be the best way to give you guys this mantra and also be able to share more information with you guys as well, kind of in a nice, loving, peaceful way. And it came to me that I didn't really have anything as far as like prasadam goes, like kind of an instruction manual for like how to offer food to Krishna. And then also what prayers do you say after the food has been offered and it's now become prasadam, and it's time to serve out to people. What was the prayer that, or prayers really, that people say before they're eating food? And so I decided I was going to actually do a blog post on that. So I did that yesterday, put that together. Took me quite some time to do it. Um, and so, yeah, so we've got this. So you guys can actually go to the website now and see this. This is a long blog post, by the way. This is more like a guide than anything. So it goes into great detail as far as like the order of operations, kind of how you can go about offering food, that type of thing. But it also has, very importantly, it's got the um, the prayer to Lord Chaitanya, the Panchatattva mantra. Um, it's got the Srila Prabhupada Pranati. So we've got a series of different ones and that's actually the Srila Prabhupada Pranati. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. This is on the blog post. It's on but you guys can actually see it's transliterated and everything, and also translated. So you can see that, and then you can actually use this to kind of help you with learning the Prabhupada Pranati on harmonium. So for the lessons that we gave last week. So that was kind of my thinking on it. And it also tells you the meaning and everything as well. So you get the translation, that's kind of the meaning. And the basic meaning is that it's a prayer that expresses gratitude to Srila Prabhupada, who actually spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world. And it's actually how we, became Bhaktas, like so many people in the West. So many devotees, people that come onto the Bhakti house, for example, and decided to adopt the philosophy of Bhakti. It was probably due to Srila, but otherwise maybe this would not have even the Bhakti house maybe not would have not even been around, that type of thing. So it's important to honor those that have come before us and that those that have given us some context for what we're doing, what our mission is, and also kind of the looking at the history and how they paved the way through their story, different things are very, very inspirational. And so those are the kind of things that I really like to share. So when we're honoring the different saints and those that have come before us in the parampara, this is one of those things that is really kind of near to me and dear to my heart, is kind of understanding or getting some insight and also the story behind them. Like, how did this person really affect where we're at today? So we can learn a lot from history and very specifically our parampara. So I have that blog post ready to go for you guys if you're interested in checking that out. It also talks about Mahaprasadam and also Maha Prasad Prasad as well. So that's available to you guys on the website. So I did also put together yesterday a blog post for Friday Night Kirtan, even though I didn't actually do a video yesterday. That blog post is actually up. You guys can actually take a look at it. The theme for today was the transforming power of constant chanting. So as you might imagine, this has a lot to do with the regularity of chanting and why it's so important. That's also one reason why I think it's important to learn harmonium or learn like kartals or learn some kind of an instrument that will engage you, keep your mind steady, while at the same time you're doing your chanting. So so for so many of my students that have learned harmonium from me, as they're learning the harmonium, they're not concentrating on outside worldly things that are affecting them. They're not concentrating all the trappings of Maya. They're actually focused on Krishna, or learning the mantra in a very nice way um, to bring honor to it. And then in that way, the chanting comes naturally, and time goes by very nicely as well. You start playing harmonium, and the next thing you know, hours have gone by, and you've been playing this chant, and it's so beautiful, and that's such a nice offering that you're giving Krishna in that regard. Um, there are many spiritual processes that are described in scripture, like meditation. They also do sacrifice, um, austerity. You do temple worship as well. Some temples, Krishna temples, and then we also study sacred texts. So these are a lot of just some examples of the different spiritual processes that we do. And yet, in this age of Kali, this age of quarrel, and some people call it like the Dark Ages or darkness, that type of thing. The scriptures constantly tell us one thing, and it's the chanting of the holy name. So for the Friday night kirtan for yesterday, it's not just about music. It's not just about the Prabhupada Pranati or the at all. It's not about even the atmosphere, like the fancy lights or the fancy building or anything like that. More than anything, it is really about spiritual awakening. And so that's one of the things that I really want to stress yesterday for like the Friday night kirtan. So if you haven't read the blog post, you can definitely go back and that would get it chapter 9 verse 14. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetuate me with devotion. So that's one powerful verse I thought would be important for the just kind of getting this kind of getting schooled on the importance of chanting regularly chanting. The theological reflection that I created is just this, like Krishna describes um, his great soul, not as scholars, not as ritualists, not even as renunciates, but as those who are always chanting. The word satatam means constantly, not occasionally, not seasonally, not every once in a while, not on festival days, but constantly. Constant does not mean one must abandon, your worldly duties per se, like your job or your family or any of these kind of things. It just means that remembrance becomes continuous through the sound of the mantra. In this age of distraction, sound anchors our consciousness. So one way of looking at this is if you remember maybe as a young person or maybe you're a young person watching this, um, when life gets a little stressful, maybe you turn on the radio or you put on the headphones or you listen to music through YouTube or your computer or some device. However you do it, um, it may be that you're doing that to kind of drown out the background noise, drown out all the other things going on in your life that you just don't want to think about in that particular moment. And so for that reason, um, this sound is a way of grounding us. And so it's really important. That's one reason why we, like with on kirtan nights, we are really um, advocating that people actually learn and pick up a harmonium, learn and do some chanting, even if you're by yourself or you're just with your significant other or someone else or a friend or a roommate. This is something that you can do together and just have a really good time with. And you don't have to be a believer or anything like that. You can just enjoy being grounded in the holy name, in the Maha Mantra. The Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 12, I'm sorry, Canto 12, um, chapter 3, verse 51. This is the great gift of Kali Yuga verse. So the translation is that, my dear king, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, like I say, dark age, there is still one good quality about this age. And what is it? Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. So that's all you have to do is chant. Always be thinking of Krishna, always be thinking of the holy name. Um, and if you put a different name to something, maybe Jesus or whatever, just think of the name, the mantra itself, and equate that with whatever your vision is, or just focus entirely just on the center, on the mantra itself. And in that way, you get the benefit. So the verse itself is quite revolutionary. Kali Yuga is described, in this verse as an ocean of faults, quarrel. We have confusion. There's short memory that we all have, a spiritual weakness, where we'd rather do things that God kind of or whatever. But there is one great quality. I'm sorry, by chanting Krishna's name, one becomes liberated and attains the supreme destination. Not through philosophical fiction or even belonging. So there are some clarifications I have for you as well, which is just a congregational thing that we do. The call and response participation. So if you're taking your outside, maybe to the temple or you're outside in the street or you're a bus stop or something where things kirtan. This is a really great way for you to just get the crowd involved, get people involved, get them chanting, So if you meet some nice soul and they want to reciprocate and chant along with you, you can do that as well. But again, we're not here to just observe, we're here to awaken. So it requires some action on our part. I did have some reflective questions yesterday that I put together for you guys. There's questions that you can ask yourself, do I chant daily with attention? Maybe you chant, but maybe it's not with attention. Maybe you don't chant daily. Is chanting central to my life or is it peripheral? In other words, would you rather be doing everything else other than chanting, or you're doing everything else other than chanting and you keep thinking, or you keep telling yourself, eventually I'm going to start chanting, eventually I'm going to do my rounds, eventually I'm going to do this, and then it just never happens, and then another day goes by and another day, and eventually it just becomes a habit of not doing any chanting whatsoever. And then finally, the last question is if all of this is the case, what exactly is it that distracts you from chanting? What is keeping you from doing just this one activity? Not asking a lot, just constant chanting. You can do this while doing other things, in fact. Of course, disclaimer there is you probably don't want to be driving and getting all hypnotized and chanting and then, not anything that requires full participation and full attention outside of chanting, probably something you should give your attention to or refrain from doing altogether. So the assignment that I gave you guys for yesterday is to commit to one concrete improvement in your japa practice this coming week. So that's the homework. Uh, you can just think about that. Maybe you are chanting every day, but maybe it's not, you're not fully engaged in the chanting. It's just something you're doing ritualistically, mechanically. So maybe in that case, you'll say to yourself, I want to be a lot more present in my chanting and really take it more seriously. Maybe you're chanting. In that case, you might say to yourself, you know what? I don't want to just overdo it. So I'll just do maybe like 54. That's half of a round. So 54 um, mantras I will chant every day. And I'll do that all week long. Or you might say, well, it's only going to take me 10 or 15 minutes to chant one entire round. That's 108. So maybe, and maybe even if it's 20 minutes or 25 minutes it takes you and you're really taking it seriously, maybe you're telling yourself, like, what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to give myself 25 minutes every week or every day to do one round. And I'm just going to do that. Maybe you're a devotee who's been doing this for quite some time and you're chanting a minimum of 16 rounds a day. And you're thinking to yourself, this is really great, but there's a part of me that just doesn't feel like I'm giving enough or that I'm chanting enough. Maybe I'm doing it all in the morning and then the rest of the day I'm not thinking about Krishna, thinking about the holy names, anything. In that case, you might say to yourself, I'll do my 16 rounds, I'll do my vow, I'll honor that, honor Prabhupada, honor my guru, but now I'm going to make it a habit every hour to do maybe an extra round throughout the day. Maybe not every hour, but consistently, maybe every 2 hours or 3 hours. So you can kind of pick and choose and determine for yourself what would be best for you. Guys, I'm telling you, I'm not just saying this because, it's lip service. If you chant regularly, you will see the benefit of that. And you'll see also the peripheral benefits as well. Your spiritual life will drastically increase. And, if you don't believe me, you can just try it. I mean, obviously, the best way is to say, oh, uh, maybe he does know what he's talking about, maybe he doesn't. But it's been my personal experience and so many other devotees that I've known, that I've had close association with, would tell you the exact same thing. Just do some regular chanting. Start small and then work your way up. It's the devotion that matters more than anything, right? Bhagavad Gita tells us that. If you offer me a leaf, water with devotion, I will accept it. So the key word is with devotion. So as we're chanting, as we're doing this, do it with devotion. Remember, it's an offering. And Krishna says, I will accept it if it's done with devotion. So that's the key there. And that's also something worth going back to just a moment when it comes to the blog post I put out yesterday. That was the ISKCON Prasadam prayer, the Hare Krishna offering, Prasadam honoring prayers. This guy doesn't mention that verse. And the key thing here is when you're doing your offering and you're chanting your prayers, you're offering food to Krishna, it is to do it with devotion. So devotion is super, super important. That's what Krishna says. I'm not making this stuff up. It's what's in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna's actually saying it. And so then we just honor it. Krishna just wants love in what we do, not just to do it just to do it. So now we are on to today. So today we're on our Saturday rest and retreat program. Give you guys some updates here a little bit. So today the message is from curiosity to event. Okay, and I think this kind of dovetails from what we were doing just a moment ago when we were talking about devotion. and also making a commitment to ourselves to regularly do more chanting throughout this week. So we're making some personal goals. Um, and remember, it's for 7 days, right? It's until we meet back here again next Saturday or next Friday, whatever the case happens to be. So in that case, say, well, I can do this for 7 days, you know. He's not asking me to do this all year long or anything, although that would be the recommended recommended thing, you know. Lifelong would be great. But it's from curiosity to commitment. So very often people, when they reach out to the Bhakti House, sometimes it's just out of curiosity, you know, what is this group all about? Like, who are these devotees that are, um, you know, and the reality is that that curiosity is really powerful. It is kind of like the starting point of your journey until you get to the commitment phase, which is living it, you know. So the idea here is to ask this question: why do we approach Krishna? So why do bhaktas approach Krishna? Why do Gaudiya Vaishnavas approach Krishna? So for the Saturday rest and retreat, um, even though yesterday we explored the power of constant chanting, and you know, we talked about the, you know, well, Kali Yoga in general, about um, the age of faults, you know, so many different faults, that the holy name is not optional, it's essential, and it's really the spiritual lifeline in this age, this Kali Yuga age. So it's the answer. So if you're looking for an answer, chanting the Maha Mantra is the answer. So today we go a little bit deeper and we want to know, why do we begin chanting in the first place? So why is this what moves a person toward Krishna? So what is this force or this uh, causation that has to cause us to like move spiritually toward Krishna? Very few begin devotional life from a place of love, pure love, I would say. Very, very few. Most of us um, begin from disturbance. You know, something has disturbed us, or it could be confusion, or it could be, you know, just kind of a longing curiosity to know more. Maybe you saw a picture of Krishna one time and you just felt drawn, or you saw a bunch of devotees chanting out in the street and you felt drawn to that. Or you went and visited a Hare Krishna temple, for example, and you saw some lovely things, beautiful flowers, and just very happy people in general. And as a result, you became quite curious. Other ways that people sometimes approach Krishna consciousness is through crises, or, you know, maybe some kind of existential exhaustion. You know, they're just so exhausted by what the material life that they've been living has been giving them, that it's just worn them out and broken down to the point where they're at their wits' end, and now they're just crying out for Krishna. So today's rest and retreat explores this psychology of spiritual awakening, like how do we awaken ourselves spiritually, and how curiosity actually builds into um, this place of commitment. So that we turn again to the Bhagavad Gita. So chapter 7, verse 16 talks about the four kinds of devotees who approach Krishna. So we have four different types of devotees. And, you know, I was kind of hinting at this just a moment ago, but the Chaturvida Bhajante Mam Jana Sukritino Shrujana Bhakta Vidnyasa Bhakti Jnanicha Bharata Sabha. So the translation is, "Oh, best among the Bharatas, four kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute." So those are four types of people. And Prabhupada, when he was writing back in days when he wrote this, It was very common back in those days to use the masculine pronoun in referencing people in general. So don't be offended in this modern age when you hear me read scripture and it says, he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. It's it applies to everyone, whether male, female, or however you identify. It's just for every human being who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. So, in this verse, Krishna is very honest, radically honest, in fact, with this particular verse. He talks about these four people. We have the distressed, that's artaha. We have the inquisitive, that's just. We have the seeker of wealth, atarti, and then we have the wise, the jnani. So jnana means like knowledge. So it's a person who's seeking knowledge, the wise person who seeks out knowledge. So you have the distressed, the inquisitive, the seeker of wealth, and we also have the wise. So this verse removes some things, right? It removes shame, for example. Um, it removes shame from the beginning of bhakti. So some come because of heartbreak, some come because of intellectual hunger, some come because they want relief from material struggle. They're struggling financially, materially, um, and some come because they realize the fertility of worldly pleasure. It's futile. It's quite meaningless in so many different ways. It doesn't bring us a lot of happy endings. And I think that's one reason why, if you're looking at like Hollywood movies or you're looking at fairy tales, looking at, oh my goodness, just your typical story where it begins on a, maybe the hero is a little bit confused, or maybe the person or the heroine, maybe she is you know desiring something more, and so the story takes her on this journey, and along this journey you have life lessons, good, bad, however you want to identify it. And in the end, after some kind of struggle or some kind of like something, maybe multiple things, there is some kind of happy ending at the end of that. And that's the same kind of case with this situation as well. When it comes to like material uh, hankering and material life and the futility of it, we quickly learn that there aren't a lot of happy endings in that per se. The happy ending is only when we decide or make a decision, say, okay, you know what? I am tired of living this meaningless life and this materially contaminated Maya, you know, age of Kali, where there's so many faults, and you see different things. I mean, just little things. I mean, everything, like, um, the way that people are treated and treating each other and so many different things like that. And you probably can already imagine or have already thought about, even while I'm talking about all this, some of the different negativity or things that you don't feel so great with, right? That are part of life, right? Maybe sometimes someone has told you that this is a part of life. That's how we see things. And the reality is that the happy ending comes was when we just say, you know what, I surrender to spiritual life. I'm now dedicating or committing myself to that. And whatever I'm doing, like materially, whatever I'm doing here is just a byproduct of being in existence. Um, I go to my job so I can earn income so that I can do Krishna uh, conscious activities, if you will, things on that end. And then you start living your life in a more meaningful and more real way. So again, some people are going to come to Krishna consciousness, or they're going to come to uh, the Mahamantra because of heartbreak, or, like I said, intellectual hunger. They want relief from material struggle, and they've just really realized the futility of worldly pleasure. That it's fleeting, you know, nothing lasts forever. Even the remembrance of material things eventually fades. It goes from our memory, or it becomes distorted as well. But all come eventually to Krishna consciousness, and that is the happy ending. And that movement toward Krishna consciousness, well, just the movement alone is already quite auspicious. So when we offer prasad to Krishna, or bhoga to Krishna, and it becomes prasad, that's Krishna's mercy. That in and of itself, just that simple offering, is a step in the right direction towards spiritual progress. And that is also very auspicious in and of itself. So the next section here is distress as a doorway. A devotee who's really distressed, they cry out when material life begins to collapse. So when the walls start coming down around you, and everything that you thought was so secure that you could bank on, that you thought was a solid foundation, as it starts to crumble out from underneath you, that's very often when people turn to God, spiritual Krishna. Loss and illness and even relationship failure is another. When these kind of things that we thought were so important become like very painful um, experiences in our life, it could even be financial pressure and stuff. You start to maybe even have like an identity crisis. Often people first start chanting when like nothing else is really working for them. That's when they start to say, okay, well, maybe I'll try this chanting thing. In the past, I've kind of maybe thought, well, it's just a bunch of words. So what? The sound vibration, you know, maybe I'm not going to even pronounce it correctly. Remember, it goes back to devotion. So that's grace right there. It's not weakness, it's grace. And because suffering starts to crack open this illusion of us being self-sufficient, the chanting is really what the answer is in this age of Kali. So if you've been looking for answers, nothing else has really worked for you, just try it. I mean, try chanting quite regularly, maybe at least daily. Some number. You can give yourself some kind of benchmark to start with. 54, maybe 108. I prescribe usually 108 to get started. I think it's a nice sadhana. It's just a good period of time. Maybe 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, 25 tops, just to go inward to do this nice mantra and just see what happens as a result. See if your happiness improves. Let that be your test, and do it for a year, at least the next 7 days. So I have some questions for today, for Saturday's rest and retreat, that I wanted to pose to you. Some of these are a little bit philosophical, so maybe they're just for you to kind of ruminate on and think about. But the first one is, who am I? Who am I? Who are you? The next one is, what is consciousness? The next is, why does pleasure fade? Happy 1 minute, not the next. You're physically stimulated 1 minute, not the next. Why does it fade? Why is it not eternal? The last question goes to this question of eternality. Is there something eternal? So this curiosity is sacred. It is a stirring of dormant spiritual memory. Gaudiya theology, faith, we call it, it's actually the seed. So we plant that. You start doing a round a day. Do just 108 mantras. Just chant that. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Just do that 108 times a day. Take you 10, 15 minutes. I mean, and that will be your seed. Just start that, and see what happens. See if faith increases, and just let your inquiry itself just sort of nourish that seed. Let it grow, let it come out. quite naturally for you. Um, so desire is a doorway. The wealth seeker approaches God for gain. This is really immature, but it's still powerful. I mean, and why is it powerful? Well, it's because turning to Krishna, even for material desire, creates spiritual content. So if you're a materialist and you say, okay, well, wait a minute, you're telling me that if I'm doing this chanting, good things are going to happen to me, that my wealth will increase, that my life will improve, my relationships will magically start to improve. I'll have a good life. If I don't have a job, I'll find the job of my dreams. All these kind of things. Am I telling you that that's think of it as sort of like a side effect? The bigger picture. Even if you're a materialist, you're not going to see this part of it. Um, that spiritual contact is what is really going to start to help you. But yeah, all those things happen naturally. Association purifies motivation over time. So by associating with devotees, reaching out to me, reaching out to others here at the Bhakti House, you can contact us through our contact form. You can just watch our YouTube video, as I put these out pretty regularly. Having some association, um, it does help. It will help you. It's kind of your doorway into wisdom. And then for motivation to transformation. So we talked about, in the beginning, it was about curiosity, to build onto in other words, our commitment. From motivation then goes into transformation. So this is the heart of today's retreat. So if you don't pay anything else, you haven't really paid attention thus far, which I hope you have, pay attention to this part anyway. This is from motivation to transformation. This is the heart of today's retreat. It is not important where you begin. Like I said, you could do 54 mantras a day. You could do 5 mantras a day. You could do 108 mantras a day. It's important where you're going. Devotion itself evolves. It's not stagnant. It doesn't stay in place. You don't just say, same as you are, devotion increases and develops. Distress goes to curiosity. Curiosity creates conviction, and conviction brings us to love, to Krishna. Bhakti deepens when we continue hearing, we continue chanting, we associate with devotees, and we reflect honestly. So that's why I put this together for you, so you can reflect on it a little bit. Motivation refines through practice. So don't be too upset with yourself in the beginning. It refines, it gets better. Your motivation, why you're doing things, starts to refine. So you don't have to worry about your motivation for doing or coming on to spiritual life or chanting mantras, even if it's for material value. That refinement process will happen naturally for you. So there are some supporting insights from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is just really to kind of deepen our understanding by going to Lord Chaitanya's text. So this is from, if I can find it. This is from the the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 23, verses 14 and 15. A little bit read here, but I'll read it. Why not? In the beginning, there must be faith. Then one becomes interested in associating with pure devotees. Therefore, one is initiated by, or thereafter, one is initiated by a spiritual master and executes the regulative principles under his orders. That's a guru. Thus, one is freed from all unwanted habits and becomes firmly fixed in devotional service. That's your only true desire. Thereafter, one develops taste and attachment, ruchi. So you get a taste for this lifestyle, you get a taste for spiritual life, and it really starts to consume you, much more so than anything material, even taste itself, which is the most voracious sense that we have. We always want to eat, right? I know, being guilty. But this is where we kind of graduate ourselves, through this Krishna conscious process. Um, Eventually, we become freed from all unwanted habits and become firmly fixed in devotional service. And thereafter, we develop taste and attachment. And this is the way of sadhana bhakti. The execution of devotional service according to the regulative principles. Eventually, gradually, emotions intensify. And finally, there is an awakening of love for God. This is the gradual development of love of Godhead for the devotee interested in Krishna consciousness. So if you're interested and you just want to learn more, just chant and be happy, as Prabhupada used to say. So the reflection that we have for this particular verse is, and this kind of is a map for your journey. So it's kind of an important verse, I would say. I would definitely recommend kind of ruminating over it a little bit. It begins with Shraddha, faith. And so, like, if you look at our membership tiers here at the Bhakti House, it starts like a $15 membership, and that's our Shraddha circle. So it's kind of like our faith circle. So it's kind of like you're joining, like we're family now. You're a community. You're part of us. You're part of the community. But it's not blind faith. It's not inherited identity, but faith means openness, being open, willing, and trust that spiritual life is meaningful and that has far more rewards than, it's far better for you in so many different ways than this material life is. From faith comes association. So once you have the faith, you'll then start to have that association, and things continue to build from there. From association, you'll start to practice. You'll have some kind of a sadhana. You'll do your rounds consistently and regularly. And from that practice, you'll eventually become more and more purified. And from that purification, you'll start to see that steadiness happens. This becomes kind of lifestyle, a way of life, pure culture. And from steadiness, you really begin to get a taste for it. This is like where you are. You don't want anything else. This is your happiness. This is what you desire more than anything else. And everything else just kind of starts to fall by the wayside. From the taste, you'll start to become super attached. And then from attachment, you'll start to become very emotional about the whole process itself. And from emotion, from that point on, it really delves into the whole love. That's love for Krishna. So you can let go of many other things, and that devotion really starts to become a lot more meaningful to you on an emotional level. So ask yourself, if we know that we have this as kind of our roadmap, where am I along this journey? So where do you see yourself at? And it could be that at certain parts of your day or week or parts of your existence, you may find yourself in, you know, in between and, kind of in flux. You might be in one now, you might go back to another one, you might go even further ahead. Don't be alarmed by that. It's not necessarily like just a straight, narrow path. It may be, diverged a little bit. But just ask yourself in today's mindset, like where you're at right now, where are you along this 9-step path? Where are you in the sequence? And be very honest with yourself with this. It has nothing to do with me or pressing any of the other devotees. Nobody cares about any of that. It's just, where are you at? Where do you feel yourself at? So for our retreat today, for the rest today, let's do a silent japa meditation for about 20 minutes. Let's do some journaling. That's really important. Ask yourself in your journal, like maybe you can answer some of these questions if you get stuck with kind of how to get started journaling. I've got some questions for you. Why did I first approach Krishna or God or higher self? However you spiritual life, you could say however you want to phrase that. What is motivating you today, like now? And then at what stage of devotion would you say describes your present condition, like where you're at? And we can do some small group sharing, some personal commitment writing. So this is not about performance. Keep that in mind. This is about connection and about being honest with ourselves, kind of with where we're at. So there's some other things in here that I've got. I'll let you in and read. But as far as the practical application for the Bhakti house here, it exists to support the movement along this progression. That's what the Bhakti house is here for, is to support you along this kind of this Bhakti progression, this ninefold path of devotion. We do that through community, because isolation has a tendency to stagnate growth or to slow it. And in that way, we all grow together. We build each other up, help each other. That's what the Bhakti house is really all about. I've got some reflection questions also for you guys, and then I do have an assignment for today as well. So you might want to go back to Friday first. If you haven't done that yet, do that assignment and then come back to Saturdays, and you can do these reflection questions in this assignment as well. Did I begin Bhakti through distress, curiosity, desire, or wisdom? Has my motivation matured? Has it, matured? What is the next stage I need to cultivate? What concrete practice will move me forward this week? So how can you improve upon your spiritual discipline and spiritual life in general? The assignment is to write one sentence. See, these assignments are not that hard. I'm not like a school teacher giving you like tests and all kinds of stuff, to deter you or to cause you not to want to do this. But this should be fun for you guys. The question is I am committing. This is kind of how I phrase this. I am committing to deepen my bhakti by, and then fill in blank, and then place that in your journal. And then next Saturday when we come back, what I'd like for you guys to do is to go back and revisit that. So it's kind of our closing meditation here for today. Spiritual life is not accidental. It does unfold in stages. We see that. That's what the Shastra, that's what the Vedas tell us. We do not need to pretend to be advanced. We're perfectly okay with where we're at right now. The main thing is for us to be sincere. Honesty and sincerity will take you a long way in bhakti. And so last night we were doing chanting. Today we're reflecting quite deeply on both these lessons from Friday and Saturday. And then tomorrow we will anchor conviction more through our association through satsang as well. So even though this feels like satsang in many ways, giving this together. And guys, if you want to know these questions, if you want to have all this, I'll put a link in the description of this video, of course, to the blog post. But the blog post is on our blog, bhaktihouse.org, THEBHHOUSE.org. And once you're there, just click on the blog link, and then you'll see this. This blog is the most recent one actually right now. So that's where we are leaving things at for the moment. That's where we're at right now. I'll let you with doing your kind of in this 4-day Saturday digital rest and retreat. Had the opportunity, the chance to respond back. So let me just kind of, if you're watching this, let me just say this now. We're not actually having like in-house programs other than me or another devotee or someone or some small little private group of us devotees that come here to the Bhakti house and actually do regular sadhana, like on a daily basis, and regular kirtan, small group session. If you are in Jackson locally and you want to participate in that, get in touch with me. We're not open to the public yet, but if your sincerity is there and you really would like to connect with us here in Jackson, just reach out. That's the first step. Just connect with us, and we figure, and because that's what we're here. If you want to engage the different things like that are even outside the house, which we do out in public, like having a good time singing the mantras. So you're more than welcome to do that as well. In the summertime, when the weather's much nicer than it is now, we meet at Rod Mills Park and we have kirtan there outside in lieu of doing them here at the Bhakti house. But normally we move that up a little bit because the park closes at dark time. So when it's dark, we're really not supposed to be there. So then, we leave right at dusk or whatever. So just kind of bear that in mind. All right. So we'll do a little bit of yoga, not a lot, and then we will continue forward here. So let me see if I can adjust a little bit. Whoops. And for those of you guys who are asking about sort of my weight loss journey, bye bye. Um, Things are going well. I mean, I haven't plateaued yet, but definitely you get to a point where you'll lose if you follow the monk diet that I've been following, you will lose a lot of weight relatively quickly, and then you'll start to slow down your metabolism. So there's some things you can do, like strength exercises, whether it's push-ups, sit-ups, band exercises, these kind of things. Low impact, depending on like your age and everything like that, and your makeup. The main thing with that is to help that metabolism continue to move forward and to rev so that you can continue to lose the weight until you get down to whatever your ideal weight is. And your body typically, I can tell you this, like most of us Hare Krishnas are pretty lean. Um, we have a fair amount of muscle, but it's pretty lean and skinny, that type of thing. And the reason that that tends to be ideal is because we do a lot of service and we are constantly watching the diet. Like I said, I do the monk bowl, 16 ounces a day, thereabouts. Um, and I offer everything to Krishna, and it's eating in the house, like the Bhakti house here, and not eating out in restaurants or any of that kind of stuff, or eating garbage food or pre-cooked food or anything on that end. So that's a big part of it. As far as the weight loss goes, I'm right around when I weigh myself with my t-shirt and just like pajama pants or something. I'm right around like 208, 209 pounds, somewhere in that part. 211 sometimes. It depends on the water weight, of course. So it's below two. Yeah, most of the time it's 210 at this point. So I think 208.2 is probably the lowest measurement that I've seen so far, and this is in U.S. pounds, not uh, not metric. So that's kind of where things are at right now. So yeah. So anyways, but I'm not so much focused on that as much as I was. For me, a lot of it was just getting a lot of the fat and stuff around the organs and stuff. That's a certain kind of fat. It's like dangerous, and that was getting rid of a lot of that. Losing a lot of water weight and stuff as well. So you'll see that start to happen. But then, like today is Saturday, and like I take a full day fast on Saturdays. It's just a personal vow that I've made. It's a day where I like to really use my rest and retreat day to do exactly that, to rest and retreat, and to give a lot of focus towards spiritual development. And that's something that's important to me. I do extra rounds, and I'm surprisingly enough, I'm not hungry at all. I mean, most of the time, I'm not really that hungry. And then on Sundays, we have a huge feast. I mean, like I say, huge feast, I just mean it's a lot of different types of preparations, a lot of different dishes. Last Sunday, we had, it was a quinoa khichdi. Uh, that was really good it had curry leaves, peanuts. It's kind of like if you've ever had sabudana khichdi. It's a lot like that, but instead of the sabudana, we made the same recipe, but with quinoa. And it's all Hare Krishna style, so it's, no onion, no garlic, none of that. So if you want the recipe, you can actually just use our sabudana khichdi recipe and then just make it with instead of the sabudana, um, make it with uh, the quinoa, the quinoa seed. And it's also ekadashi friendly for the most part. Some people question whether uh, it's not a traditional ekadashi preparation. Um, Quinoa comes from like South America, so in India it wasn't really there when people were honoring uh, ekadashi, and a lot of your ekadashi texts were written. So as far as it's seed, so it's not a grain per se. So you could actually have khichdi, I believe. I mean quinoa. I have no problem with that personally, but I think it's up to you and your own discrimination. I haven't found that it affects my consciousness negatively in any way, and I feel that by eating something simple, um, I do reflect more on Krishna, and I think it does my spiritual development as well. To be perfectly honest with you on that. So yeah, so that's kind of the diet side of things. So let's do a little bit of yoga. I can tell you honestly now, I have this big hoodie on and here stuff right now, but I have actually lost a lot of the weight here. Continuing to lose more, of course, but uh, I can tell you, like, just being able to move around is a lot easier. So we can start off in Padmasana, lotus pose if you want. You go like full lotus, you can. This. Just a little meditation. What I like to do with this meditation is I like to use it as an opportunity to chant rounds. Just a couple of rounds, maybe 5. You can do this to yourself internally and internalize these mantras, or you can say them out loud for the benefit of others as well. If you have people around you, or if you just want to hear the sound vibration and the way it sounds. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. And then you can just sit with your breath for a few moments. And find your stillness, your equilibrium. You want to feel steady in your breathing, steady in how your posture is, steady in how your body is like pulsating or vibrating, just very, very steady. When you're ready, you can move these legs down and out to some degree, just enough to where you feel a little bit stretched. And then using your hands like this, you can use that to kind of pivot your torso downward. So you're sitting nice and straight, downward, coming down nicely. Don't overstretch. Come in, button stretch here, and then come down. This stretch is really an important stretch right here for being able to do splits. So if you're a young person and you've been trying to learn how to do splits, this one exercise here, by doing this, it actually helps you practice getting your hips in the correct alignment for doing splits. That's important. Move one leg out. Come over. Should feel the stretch a little bit in here, and also in the leg. Down, breathing out. As you come up, breathe in. And hold that breath as you change that. Change this. Also, now let. Come up, breathe in, and then come down, breathe out. And as you breathe up, breathe in, come up, and cross the leg. Now we're going to come forward into bridge pose. So just take your hands forward like this, and then you can put I'll demonstrate it this way so you can stand. Bridge pose like this. Try and keep your back straight. You want to keep your arms parallel with each other, perpendicular to the floor. And keep that spine nice and long, head nice and long. Now we'll take our legs, our feet, our toes. You want to pick them up and then place them where the toes are actually on the floor like so. And as you do that, we're going to come up into downward dog. Now you feel stretch in the back of the calves nicely. Now we're going to and we take our feet then we come back to bridge pose. And then we lower our torso into the floor, getting a nice stretch. So you're moving your butt this way. You're moving your shoulders this way. And you're putting a dip in your back here. Feeling that stretch nicely. And then you go up. You're arcing your back instead of arcing it in reverse. You're raising it up to the ceiling. While you lower your head, you lower your butt. And then you can repeat that. And again. And you can come back to our mat. Close your eyes. And we won't do a full round now in this session, but we'll do another 5 mantras to get started. And then you can continue your round and complete all 100. So if you don't have your mala with you, you can get that. And you can chant, continuing from where we leave off here at the 5. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And you can continue along your mala until you get back to the guru bead again, and that will be 1 full round. And you can continue to do more rounds as you like by just simply reversing mala. Once you get to the end bead before the guru bead, that'll be 108. Just simply turn the mala around and go in reverse the directions where you were at before. That can be your yoga for today, and also get your round in as well. So very, very important. This Bhakti yoga is, you can do hot yoga and get exercise, do some strength training with some of the positions. But remember, in this age of fault, japa is the most important thing. That's what we just read. The message that I will leave you with today. Pray to